The following podcast is brought to you by the Ebb Tide Treatment Center. Many people wrestle with addiction. You don't have to. Reach out to the Ebb Tide Treatment Center, where they wish to empower each individual encountered with the support, hope, and tools required for long-term sobriety, priding themselves on providing the best possible treatment experience for you and your loved ones based on unique needs. They're committed to breaking the stigma that plagues those suffering with addiction and their families by educating and bringing awareness to the community. The Ebb Tide Treatment Center provides individual and group therapy, multiple recovery pathways for support, evidence-based clinical support, integrated aftercare social reintegration, personalized treatment planning, program addressing whole life health, and Vivitrol program, all available. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, reach out to them at ebbtidetc.com or call 844-430-4357. Hello once again, everybody. Thanks for listening to AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Before we get into this week's episode, as always, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors that help us bring the show to you for free each and every week. Firstly, thanks to Angelo's Pizza. They're feeding us here as they always do while we record, and they, of course, bring pizza to you at our live events at Mount Carmel. If you want to try more of their pizza or anything else on their menu, it's all delicious. Head to Angelo's on Madison Avenue in Lakewood, Ohio. And thanks to Smart Mark Video, they record all of our live events. And if you want to relive any of those or watch them for the first time, you can purchase that on DVD or digital download from smartmarkvideo.com. And additionally, head to powerbomb.tv, sign up using the code ABSOLUTE, and you will get a 20-day trial for free. And then stick around and just keep watching the shows that we put out there from the AIW archives. And as always, thanks to Jack Prince, who helps take care of all of our printing and graphic design needs. They can do all of that and more for you, whether it be banners, t-shirts, business cards, flyers, everything and anything. For all that they have to offer, head to jackprince.com. JAKPrince.com. That's right. That voice that you just heard, we'll get to in a second because this episode is going to be all about him. My name is Steve Guy. I'm your moderator of sorts, and for most of you, if you only listen to AIW's The Card is Going to Change, you haven't even heard my voice in probably 2 weeks at this point, and maybe more. At least 2 weeks, I would say. If you were at our show on April 20th, you definitely heard me then, and you saw me. But I am joined now. This is the reason you haven't heard me, and that's what this is going to be about, by John Thorne, AIW owner, a guy who's spent way too much time in the hospital as of late, and I know a lot of people have been wondering what was going on, how he's doing. We're going to catch up on all of that, how this impacted what we were doing. We'll talk a little bit about that with AIW, but I think most of that side of it, how that impacted us the week of our 420 show, we will discuss as we recap that episode at a later time. But we'll certainly get into a bit of that. But John, welcome back. We get to sit down and do this.
Yeah, I didn't think that was ever going to happen again, honestly.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we joke about that when we have certain episodes, and we think that the ratings are going to go down. But man, you putting everybody through a scare there, buddy.
Putting myself through a scare. That was probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life.
So for those, to catch people up, for those who don't know, or maybe all you know is that John was in the hospital, we went down to New Orleans for WrestleMania weekend, a whole grouping of us, multiple groups, and upon returning, John ended up going into the hospital with pneumonia. It got really bad. There ended up being fluid, not necessarily just in his lungs, but around his lungs, which is really what created the problem and the issue for him. But we'll start with the very beginning of this. I guess you flew down, you flew back, and then only a few days later you went.
So I'm sure we'll do a WrestleMania weekend recap.
Yeah,
so
we don't have to recap that chaos. I'm sure we'll get.
We don't need to get into really all that, but I mean, I did run myself pretty ragged when I was in New Orleans with the schedule that I had, on top of the never being to Bourbon Street before and never being in New Orleans and trying to experience as much of it as possible and, see as many friends as possible and stuff. It turned out to be some very late nights, and WrestleCon was very early mornings. So it was a lot of drinking and not sleeping, which I guess could be, they don't really know, but they say this could factor into everything that happened to me.
Yeah, that could be a recipe for disaster a lot of times.
But I guess how it all started was, I can't remember if it was before we left or after we started flying home, but at some point on the Tuesday when I was traveling home, I got really severe pain in my shoulder, of all places, like unbearable amounts of pain. I didn't know what was going on or what happened. But like it got so bad that I couldn't even carry my bag.
Oh wow.
I couldn't. It was in my left arm, but even carrying with my right arm was like extremely painful. Like it's like nothing I could ever describe, honestly. And like I remember when we got back to Cleveland, I called like an Uber right away because I was in like so much pain, and I just wanted to like get home and figure out what was going on. And I couldn't. Like, I was so mad because I guess Ubers can't come and pick you up at the Cleveland airport anymore.
Yeah, they have like a designated spot.
You have to walk like kind of far away.
Yeah, it's not close.
And I was like dragging my bag because I could not like lift it up, and it was like probably it was probably like a 5-minute walk, but it was like the most painful thing I've ever experienced. So like I get home. And like my left arm is hurting me, and I'm like kind of short of breath, but like I don't know. You just think it's like a cold or something. So like I'm so tired that I fall asleep because I barely slept in New Orleans, and I wake up and I have to go to work the next day because I had been off for a week. And I go to work and it's like I'm coughing and the pain is still there, and I start like coughing and like blood is coming up, like just straight up, like nothing else but blood coming up, which was somewhat alarming, I would say.
Yeah, you kind of tell us that in our board of directors group chat, and we're all like, go to the hospital, man. That's not. And
I'm like, I know that after everything that happened with Chandler, we really preached this like take care of yourself thing. But I'm not a doctor person at all. Like, I didn't even know where my insurance cards were. I had to like, because I just never go to the doctor. I like go to the dentist like twice a year for my teeth cleaning or whatever, and that's about it. So, when like Wednesday after work, I'm like increasingly getting like experiencing more pain, and like I start thinking like, man, left arm, like shortness of breath, like am I gonna have a heart attack? Like that's what I was thinking. Like I was like, or did I have a heart attack? Because it was getting harder and harder to breathe, and like my left arm was like in a ton of pain, and you always hear like this, like
everybody talks about
the left arm or whatever. So I'm like trying to just fight through it. I'm taking like aspirin and like Tylenol or whatever, and like just trying to like home remedy it with some like Dayquil and like just over the counter stuff, and it just gets worse and worse, and like I start spitting up more blood. So like I can barely walk, so I call my sister, and I was like, you need to come taking me to the hospital right now because I don't know what's wrong with me. So my sister takes me to the emergency room, and like I can barely walk in there, and you know, I have to, you know, of course, pay all the money before any doctor will even come and talk to me, which it's kind of annoying when you like feel like you're dying. And then they bring me into this room, and the doctor asked me my symptoms, and he's like, all right, I got it narrowed down to 3 things. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, you have cancer, you have a blood clot in your lung, or you have pneumonia. Those are your 3 options. And I was like, like what? Like,
yeah,
you're just right out of the gate with cancer. Like,
well, he probably throws you that out there first because that's one of those, like, they have to tell you, right? Because if they do all this other stuff and it ends up that's what you have, in today's day and age, you're preventing lawsuits.
So like, whew, man, that's like, that hits you, that when you hear a doctor say cancer to you, that will fucking, that will really fucking hit you hard. So they give me like, they tell me I have to go in for a CT scan to like eliminate these options down. So I do that, and I wait like, I don't know, like 45 minutes or something. And this is like, I'm still in an incredible amount of pain. And at this point, it's not just my left arm, it's my entire left side of my body is like paralyzed. So they come back and they tell me like, okay, it's not cancer, it's not a blood clot, you have pneumonia. And they say it's very rare for somebody my age with no like bad like previous health history to get pneumonia. But they say that's what I got. So they give me a prescription for a Z-Pack, and they send me on my way. So I go home, and you know, my sister just drops me off. Like, the pharmacy I use is not 24 hours, so I can't get my prescription until the morning. And I just like, they gave me like a shot for pain, some kind of like pain shot. So I was able to sleep. And then when I woke up on Thursday, I was like deathly ill again. And finally, like, I can't drive. I can't do anything. I can barely move. So Eddie only actually comes to my house and like takes my prescription and like fills it for me and brings it back. So like I immediately start taking these antibiotics or whatever. And like, it's just not working. Like, yeah, it's not working. And it gets to the point to where like nothing, I can't like get comfortable at all because this pain, like it wasn't like about the breathing so much at first. It was just like the incredible amount of pain that I was in my shoulder, like which made no sense to me because they told me I had pneumonia.
Right.
So anyway, I am like trying to sleep standing up, like I can't, I'm getting these like shooting pains all throughout my body. It's like real bad. So finally I like sit down in my kitchen at my kitchen table, and like I can, like, if I don't move, I'm like somewhat comfortable. So I like sleep in my, like in a chair at my kitchen table, and I would hope that these like pills are going to kick in at some point. I wake up Friday morning and still like nothing. Like it's still awful. I'm still like spitting up blood. It's like all my symptoms seem like they're getting worse. So I get a regular doctor's appointment or whatever at 10:30 in the morning. Cause they said like when they discharged me the first time, they said like, if you don't feel better, call and tell them your oxygen levels are very low, which that alarmed me that they were letting me leave with low oxygen levels.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, you know, if you don't feel any better, call the insurance like hotline or whatever it is to make your appointment and tell them you have really low oxygen levels and they'll take you right away.
Okay.
So that scared me. So I get like an appointment at 10:30 in the morning on Friday, and I have to walk like so fucking far because this hospital is like, I don't know, it's like under construction and it's just fucking all over the place. So I go to this like special area or whatever, and they give me like a couple like tests, and then some doctor comes in and like he gives me some more tests, and he starts like listening to me, and he's like, "You should have never been released from this hospital. Like, what's going on?"
Wow.
He's like, "You are in like really, really bad condition." He's like, "You need to go to the emergency room right now." So like they put me in a wheelchair and they like wheel me to the emergency room because this doctor was like super concerned. And of course, like no doctor's coming to see me until I like swipe my credit card from like my copay. Like they like send a lady in, which I just think it's like, I don't know. Like I understand it's a business, but it's like I feel like I'm dying, and like you're like asking me for my fucking credit card and my fucking last 4 digits of my social or whatever.
If it's not a heart attack and or you're not gushing blood or anything like that, yep, it's protocol, man.
I was just like I felt like I've never felt this way in my entire life. Like awful. Like it literally felt like my body was shutting down on me. Like it's so inexplainable. Like the amount of pain that I was in from apparently pneumonia. So they come in and they give me an IV and they do all these tests on me, and they give me some antibiotics, and they're asking me all these questions, and then they say like, "Hey, we're gonna admit you for 24 hours. We're gonna put you in this special 24-hour observation room or whatever." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sounds great to me. 24 hours, you guys are gonna make me feel better." Well, it was way longer than 24 hours.
Yeah, this is still the same room that you ended up being in then for...
No, this is a different room.
This is a different room.
Yeah, they moved me. So I go to this 24-hour observation room or whatever, and they're giving me like IV antibiotics and all kinds of stuff for pain, and then the 24 hours comes and goes, and then they come in and they say, "You're not getting any better. You're getting worse. So we need to send you to another part of the hospital, and you're staying even longer." So that's the room that I ended up staying in for like 12 days or something like that. But it just like they could not figure out what was totally wrong with me, which is kind of scary as a hospital patient, because they're telling you pneumonia, but then they're saying there's got to be something else wrong with you. So like they start like running tests on me with like specialists and stuff, and they're just like, okay, like one doctor's like, "I'm putting you on these like really aggressive antibiotics because these young doctors gave you Z-Pak and didn't work, so I'm now it's my turn. I'm going to put you on this aggressive stuff." So he puts me on this aggressive stuff, and then I see another doctor, and he's like mad that I'm on aggressive stuff, so he takes me off of it. And it's like these doctors are having like pissing contests with each other to like,
but it's impacting your body. Yeah,
right. And it's just like, one doctor is like mad at the young doctors because they're not doing everything they can, and then like this other doctor is like, "Oh no, you don't need that." So like they fucked around with my antibiotics for like days. Like going back and forth, kind of arguing with each other, which was like, and I'm just sitting there like feeling like I'm dying, and I'm like, "Can you guys just please make me feel better?" So then I start seeing like some specialists, and the only thing that they could tell me is I'm in like a rare 10% of people in the world that are affected the worst by pneumonia.
Yeah. And you are in this weird situation. So, having done research and talking to the medical people that I know, a lot of the people who are kind of like in your situation, when it's that bad, have cystic fibrosis. For those who aren't familiar, it's just not a good time. And those people really struggle with that. It's a lower immune system. And so you get something like pneumonia.
And so
not good.
So then they come in and they tell me that like your body is reacting like somebody with HIV. So like this is like a terrifying, like
Right.
this is more terrifying than the cancer fucking thing. You know, they're like, your body's reacting like somebody with HIV. We have to run all these tests. And, you know, they're asking me like about my like sex life and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what the fuck? Like, you guys told me I have cancer. Now you guys are implying that I have HIV. And, you know, at that point, you're like, life flashes before your eyes. And you're just thinking about every bad decision that you ever made in your entire life with, you know, questionable girls. And,
that and gigging during wrestling, right?
nah, that's fine. And, I never gigged with Abdul the Butcher, so I think I'm good. But
There you go.
it's just like, so then I'm like, fuck, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, and they're just so like nonchalant about like their delivery to you. And it's just like, are you saying that I have this? Like, are you not saying that I have this? And they're like, no, we're not saying you have it. We're just saying your body is reacting as if you had it. But we have to do some tests first. So like they run tests and like, thankfully I do not have HIV. And they run me for like every autoimmune disease like on the planet, and everything comes back negative, which further confuses them because like they say I'm perfectly healthy. They just don't know why my body reacted like this. And, you know, I guess there's like theories of like flying and stuff like that. Like, but it's like not like medically proven that like,
Yeah.
you know, like something with flying and like, you know, a virus can like, it could really accelerate a virus. Cause I kept going like, hey, you know, I just got back from vacation and now I'm here. Is that a problem? And, you know, they said, maybe, you know, did you fly? And they kept asking me if I flew, but like, they didn't want to say like, hey, that's what happened, because there's no like,
There's no real medical
it's just like
science behind it. Yeah.
a theory or whatever. And then, you know, as I'm like saying like, hey, I'm in the hospital, people start tweeting me about this like measles outbreak or whatever at WrestleMania, and
Yeah.
it's like showing me that. So I'm like, I got to be like a weirdo to my doctors and be like, hey, what about the measles? And they're like, what are you talking about? Didn't you get like a vaccination? I was like, yeah, when I was a little kid, but you know, people are telling me that there's a measles outbreak in New Orleans and I was literally just there. Now I'm like, feel like I'm dying. So like, you know, they run me for like measles, but that comes back negative. And, you know, I'm just like there, and it's being in the hospital fucking sucks. I just want to say that like for people like Caden who have to go to the hospital all the time, like that is, I would wish that upon nobody, because it was by far the worst experience of my entire life being in a hospital. Like it's just, it's awful. It's like being a prisoner kind of like, and like eventually it like really like later on in the process, it really like turned into me kind of being a prisoner. But it was just like, I wish going to the hospital for a long stay on nobody. Mainly because the food is fucking awful too. Like bad. Like they got so mad at me because I refused to eat their fucking shitty food that they sent like the head nutritionist up to speak to me. And I was like, I have to, like, my family's bringing me food because I cannot eat whatever the fuck that is. Like I looked right at the nutritionist and I said, that food does not look like the road to recovery to me.
The one day I came in there and I lifted up the lunch I brought you food this day, and I looked at what was maybe supposed to be meatloaf.
Oh, it's, yeah.
I have no idea what it was, honestly.
You can't tell what any of the food is. It's like insane. Poor Matt Justice made the mistake of eating some of it to prove how manly he was. The day of the 420 show, he ate some fillet of fish.
Is that what it was?
Later on, after you were
later
there.
after I left. Okay.
And I got a text about 5:30 in the morning that said, I think that fish is coming back up, bro.
Yeah, probably not the after party. It was the fish.
But so anyway, like I start seeing these specialists, and literally all they're telling me is like, you came down with a case of bad luck. And like these are like fucking like world renowned like fucking lung specialists, and they're saying they have no idea what happened to me, why it happened to me. There's no They cannot figure it out, and they just say that, you know, I've come down with a case of bad luck. And then I start feeling like a lot better when I'm in there, because they're giving me like breathing treatments, and they're giving me like they go back to like the hardcore antibiotics, like they decide on that. So I start feeling like so much better. Like they're giving me things for pain, so I'm not in pain anymore. And they make me think that I'm like gonna go home one day, and they're just like, yeah, you're on your way home. You know, everything's going good. And then they sent me for like a CT scan, and they're like, yeah, we just want to, you know, see what's going on or whatever. And this is like, I'm there like 9 days at this point, you know, so I'm like ready to fucking go home. Like, can't take a shower. Like you just feel like a prisoner. Like,
yeah,
they're like, oh, you could maybe jump in the community shower, but I'm like, dude, I'm not like showering with these people with like, I know there's people with like MRSA on my floor, and like crazy, like at one point they tried to room me with somebody with MRSA, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds fucking really bad, and I have apparently a really low immune system right now, so like, please, no, like, let's not do that. I was luckily like alone up until like my last like day and a half, but so like you just start feeling awful because you're not showered, you're like, you know, just trapped in this room. And they gave me like this final CT scan or whatever, and then like they were gonna let me go. Like all the doctors were saying like, you're going home today, man, you're going home today. And they come in and they're like, we're pretty sure you need surgery. And I was like, what? You guys have been telling me I'm going home all fucking day.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you know, well, we found this fluid outside of your lung, and, you know, CT scans don't lie. And I started like freaking out. Sorry if this is boring for everybody, but this is just how it went down. And I went, I've had 3 CT scans. Like, you're telling me CT scans don't lie. This is the 3rd one, and now you've just magically discovered this like life-threatening fluid outside of my lung.
It been? Yeah.
And it's just like, it was very frustrating. So I started asking like a lot of aggressive questions, I guess, because I was pissed, because like I was ready to go home. And they just told me, they were just like, you better get ready for another week here plus surgery. And like, they're like, it's not that big of a deal, you know, like we just got to talk to the chest surgeon, and he's going to, you know, just have to crack you open and get that fluid out. And I was pissed. And I started asking like a lot of aggressive questions about like why I was initially like discharged after a CT scan, like all the other CT scans that I had that, you know, nobody brought this up to me. And the doctor's response was, I'm going to leave before you hit me. And instead of giving me any logical answer to any of my questions, she said, I'm going to leave because I think you're going to hit me. And like, I wasn't going to hit her, but I was pissed off, obviously, because I've been trapped in this fucking hospital. So they tell me that they're going to put like a chest tube in me, and, you know, they're going to try this medicine. But the doctor looks me right in the eye and they say, but, you know, if we were gambling people, we would bet against this medicine. We just have to do this in order to get to the surgery, because the surgeon won't speak to us until we do this first. And we feel you're a really good candidate for surgery. So we're going to put this chest tube into you and put this medicine into you that we don't think is going to work for the next 3 to 4 days. And then you're going to go to surgery. And I just like, I could not believe it. Like, that was like, I thought that was like the worst day. That was going to be like the worst day of my life. Like, I like totally like just broke down that day, because I felt like these people were just going to like let me die in there because they really wanted to do surgery on me, like for like research purposes or whatever. Like, that's honestly what it felt like. They just kept saying like, you're a really good candidate for surgery, so like we really want to do the surgery so like we can learn more about like what's going on. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to be like your test dummy. Like just do something to fix me. Like, don't tell me you're going to give me this medicine that's not going to work.
You're not a frog in 7th grade science class.
And that's kind of like what I felt like. I kind of felt like I was like a science project to these people, because like they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and they were like so excited to just like cut me open and like figure it out. So I'm like terrified that, you know, they're telling me like chest tube, like, so like they don't explain it to you. So like they're leaving this up to my imagination, and I'm like, fucking, like I'm losing my mind because like I'm like, you know, the last time I'm at the hospital is to see Chandler Biggins hooked up to like all this crazy stuff.
And that's what I was gonna say. You know, for being what we went through with Chandler and you being there many times, is that really impacting and playing on your mind?
100%. Like I'm just like, dude, they're gonna incubate me and like fucking put these tubes in me, and I'm never gonna wake up again. Like I 100% felt like I was gonna die in that hospital. Like no, like that is not an exaggeration or an overreaction. Like there were several times where I felt like I was gonna die throughout this process. Like the first time was when they released me initially and like sent me home. Like that whole Thursday night into Friday, like I really, like I think if I didn't go back to the hospital, I would have been dead in 48 hours if I didn't start getting like real medicine.
Yeah,
because like it was it was bad. And then when they're telling me about this chest tube, I'm just like, I'm gonna die in here because like I'm just associating like tubes with like everything that I saw Chandler hooked up to, and like how he was just like in a coma for months, and like I'm just like, dude, this cannot happen. Like, and it's literally 1 year almost exactly to the date of him getting sick, and I like it's all like freaking me out. Like this, it's like some weird like Final Destination shit of like, you know, now it's your turn to go. Like, and like that may sound crazy or like fucking like I don't know, but that's really what I was thinking. Like I was like, holy shit, like now like 1 year later I'm gonna die. Like
you're wondering if there's like some sort of AIW curse or something going on,
dude. Something like I honestly felt like not even an AIW curse, like just like a Cleveland wrestling promoter curse, because like JT Lightning died really young, you know, and like Chandler died really young. So I'm just like, fuck, like what is going on? And like when these doctors are like are telling you like they're gonna give you medicine that's not gonna work,
right?
Like that just makes me feel worse. And they're like, yeah, you know, you got to go have this procedure, and then you know, we're gonna put this chest tube in you, and then you know next week you're off the surgery. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like you guys told me I was going home today, and now like you hit me with all this stuff. So I go and like I get this tube put in me, and it ends up being like kind of like in my side, like, and in my back, kind of like right near my lung. And like thankfully, like I was like, you know, I was freaking out, and like thankfully it was like a very like minor procedure. Like they just like shot some Novocaine into me, and like they put like I guess like what's like the size of like a catheter tube into my like lung area, and then like attached it to like a bag, and I had to like carry this bag around with me. And they told me like, you know, they're gonna come and like hook you up to like suction and this further apparatus and like do all this other shit. And then like nobody shows up for like 30 hours to like fix this on me. Like I'm just carrying this bag around with me for like a day and a half, and I'm finally like, I'm just like, when the lung specialist comes back, who thought I was gonna hit her, like I start going off on her about that. I'm like, hey, like, you know, you're saying all this stuff, like this isn't gonna work. Like I've been walking around for a day and a half, like carrying this bag around, when you guys are supposed to like hook it up to whatever's supposed to maybe or maybe not fix me. So like they finally like, you know, come and hook me up, of course, at like midnight later that night, and like set it up to like the suction or whatever.
It's basically a vacuum.
Yeah.
I mean, I could feel people in because I was there to see it, and basically what this is like this little box, and this box has columns, and there's a line, and it goes to a wall, and literally it is a vacuum.
That's
and
like
it's
suction,
and it starts pulling. The idea is it's going to pull all of this fluid surrounding John's lungs out through this little tube that is now in his side.
And I guess like the fluid is like, it was like on its way to being something called like a pleural like hepatema or something like that, which like I look like they say it's not that yet, but it's like close to that. It's in like my pleural space, and So like I look that up and it's like, yeah, this pleural epinema has a 20% death rate in adults within 1 year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like I am going to die. Cause like they won't tell me the consequences of like what it means if like it is like an epinema. I can't even say the word right, but like, well, the doctor even says like, I'm not going to tell you what that means if you have that, like, but you know, let's hope that you don't. So, they take like samples or whatever. And like, I guess they have to see if like things grow in it. And luckily like nothing grew in my sample, but they said like the issue is, and this is like, what's kind of disgusting is like, if you don't get the fluid out, it's like the like premature stages of it turning to like pure pus and like just like hardening and basically like infecting your whole body and like drowning your lungs in pus. And that was pretty disgusting sounding to me.
Yeah.
So like, and they're like, you know, if we find any pus, like you're in a lot of trouble. So I'm like, get this shit out of me.
Yeah.
You know, like
at this point, you don't like the sound of surgery, but you're like, let's do it right now.
Like, get it out of me.
Yeah.
So like, after they hooked me up to the suction, like nothing happens. Like, nothing's coming out of me. So they're like, okay, we're going to try this medicine that we think isn't going to work. So like they put that medicine inside of me and like, I called it like an ice cream shot. It was like this fucking like freezing cold shot that they like shot into the tube, like to go into my body. And, it was so fucking cold. And I guess it was like, it's called like TPA or TBA or something. And they said it was like to break up like the fluid was like in pockets. It wasn't like free flowing fluid that was all connected. So they were like trying to like break down the wall of like in between the pockets of fluid or whatever. So like they shoot that in me and like all the shit starts coming out. And they're like, the one doctor's like, oh man, like I guess it's working, you know?
Yeah.
So like, then they come back and like, they do it again, and like the next day I want to say, and I like stand up and like my shirt's all wet, and I'm like, hey, like I think the medicine leaked out, and they're like, oh no, like it started coming out so fast that like that's like the lung fluid all over you.
So well,
like it burst, like because they like how they did it was they would put this like cold medicine into me, they would like close it off,
yeah,
for like an hour to like let it like simmer inside my body.
Yeah.
But I guess like it was coming out so fast that it like broke the seal of the tube and just started leaking all over me. And you want to talk about being grossed out, like try like having a doctor tell you that like all this disgusting lung juice that's like built up inside of you is now pouring out all over your clothes and like all over your body, and you can't take a shower.
I was just going to say, and to remind everybody, and especially now at this point,
yeah, I cannot. I absolutely
take a shower.
I absolutely cannot.
This opening in you. They told you.
I'm told I absolutely cannot take a shower.
Yeah.
So I have to like wipe off with like baby wipes, basically.
Sponge bath, buddy. Come on. Where's the hot nurse?
There was not one hot nurse in that whole building. There was not one hot nurse in the whole building. But yeah.
So Worldwide came and cleaned you all. No.
What's up, everybody? Alex Worldwide Killer here to tell you all about at Thrift Store Jobber, Instagram, Etsy, eBay, etc. All over that internet-stra. But, you know, the Attitude Era, well, it was pretty gnarly. And the WWF, it was pretty hot. They had that scratchy logo. They were putting that all over everything. And, well, they put them on these two duffel bags. That's right. He's got duffel bags available with that scratchy WWF logo. You can fit a lot of somas in these things. Tell you what, live that old brother life long as you can until you can't no more, because those days, they ain't coming back, and they never will. There's too many channels on cable now, guys. It's not going to happen. But anyway, use promo code WORLDWIDE to get 10% off your order from at Thrift Store Jobber. Do it.
I did have like one really good nurse. Her name was like Shawarma. She was like Indian.
Yes.
She took like really good care of me. Some of the other nurses were like,
I got to meet her. She was nice.
Some of the other nurses were just like, did not give a fuck like if you got better or not. Like very like just like.
How about your guy that didn't like his pay?
Oh yeah, they're coming in. They're complaining to me about their paychecks. Like this guy that's like takes my blood pressure or whatever. He just like puts a bed in my room so no one could get in. He's like, I don't know. They told me they want me to stay overtime and they want me to do something with this bed, but you know, last time they didn't take care of Andre, so Andre ain't staying. And I'm just like, okay, man, cool. Like, I'm glad that like you're responsible for my health and you're mad about your hourly wages.
Yeah, yeah.
And like other nurses were like complaining. So it's a fucking weird place, man. And like they would come and like they would take like blood from me at like 2:00 in the morning every night for some reason. And it's just like anything that they could do to make sure like you just don't sleep at all, I think is like their policy.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate but common kind of thing with hospitals, and you know they've got to keep a regular eye on you to make sure everything's good to go on the up and up.
Oh, they were not keeping a very good eye on me, because I will tell you the next time that I thought I was going to die was I had this tube in me for maybe 2 days, and they gave me this like crazy fucking like cocktail to fucking fall asleep. They give me like an Oxycontin, codeine, cough syrup to wash it down, and a melatonin. So like I'm fucked. Like I am fucked beyond belief of like, I don't like fuck with like pills or anything like that. So like this fucking pill, like this Oxycontin hits me fucking hard. Like, and then the codeine and all of it. So I'm fucked up, and I fall right asleep, and I was like sleeping in like a recliner instead of the bed, because like initially like the pain on my like left side, I couldn't lay down, so I just started sleeping in this chair. So like I'm fucked up. I don't know what is going on, and I wake up and I am in like I'm dying. Like I can't breathe. I wake up gasping for air. And I can't catch my breath. All my pain is back. So I like start hitting this fucking nurse button, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And like, I grab like the oxygen thing off the wall, and I start like, like put it in my nose so like I can get some oxygen into my body. And like, they were just like, I don't know, we got to call a doctor. And I'm like, I'm dying right now. Like, please do something. And it turns out that like, nobody was paying attention to this like chest tube in my body, and it got like twisted and kinked when I was sleeping. So all the stuff, like I told you like earlier, like the stuff was like rushing out of my body at a rapid pace. Well, it got blocked, and like just was like getting like, it was trying to come out and getting forced back inside of my body, which was like putting like all this pressure on my lung again.
Yeah. And
I could not breathe, and like it must have did something to like push my lung back up, because they explained the shoulder pain to me as like your lungs sit like really high up actually, and then like this fluid was pushing my lung up further. Mm-hmm. So like that's why I got like really bad shoulder pain. So like all the day one symptoms come back, and I can't breathe, I can't do anything. And this is like this is the day before the show. This is on like the morning of like April 20th. And they just like had no concern that like they like the nurse let me get all kinked up or whatever.
Yeah.
And like my family like it calls up there, and they're just like yelling like, hey, like he almost died last night. And the nursing staff says like the nurse in charge says he has to do a better job of monitoring himself.
Like they gave you something to basically pass out.
Right. But they said that
You're on drugs.
I needed to do a better job monitoring myself, because they're not going to go in and see me any extra just because I got a chest tube that got kinked.
And I don't think it wasn't a question of seeing you extra. It was a question of make sure you're checking everything when you do go in and see him.
Right. And so the unfortunate thing is like that brought back every initial symptom that had gone away. I don't know why that happened, but it brought back everything. Like all the pain was back, the shortness of breath was back, like I couldn't breathe on my own. Like everything was back. I was coughing uncontrollably. Like, so then, that day is when like everyone wants to come and see me. So like poor Dave the Potato, he was like crying seeing me in this condition. Like he shows up and he starts like crying because like I'm like back to like square one on my deathbed again. Like because of this this tube kink or whatever.
Yeah, because actually I came on Thursday and saw you, and I was there for a couple hours with you, and
I was fine.
And we talked about it, and you were doing great. You were feeling a little bit better. You were coughing much less, and then boom, you were
yeah. You came Friday.
You were gonna get to sleep, and then I come Friday,
and I was like dead again.
Yeah.
And like that's when like all the wrestlers were coming to see me, so I'm sure they all definitely thought I was gonna die.
Right. I came with Eddie Kingston. We brought you your favorite Denny's chicken tenders
with some mashed potatoes and fries.
Mashed potatoes and fries. Yep.
So yeah, like then everyone thinks I'm sure everyone thinks I'm gonna die. I thought I was gonna die. And then they monitor me. Like I just tell the nurses, like I get some good nurses and I tell them like, hey, please like watch this for me. And they end up monitoring it, and like it gets back to like they give me these fucking cold shots some more, and like it ends up like something like over like 100 cc's or 1,000 cc's of fluid comes out of me.
This box was pretty gnarly.
Yeah,
pretty gross. All the fluid. It
was like on
colors.
display.
Yeah, and like from Thursday to Friday, it's 2 different colors. And
yeah, it was like green, then it was like red, then it was like pink, then it was like yellow, and it was just gross.
Depending on what was coming out.
Yeah, I think this is like a medical podcast at this point.
Yeah,
and so they end up like telling me like, hey, the doctor comes in and says like, hey, I was wrong. I guess this medicine is working. But like, we got to make sure it definitely worked. Like they were still pushing this surgery on me. Even though like all this fluid came out, that they thought this medicine was not going to work at all. So anyway, like Monday comes around and like they take the chest tube out because like nothing has come out in like a day. And, they send me down for like another CT scan, and they're like, hey, this is like the moment of truth or whatever. And they're like, you're either going home or you're going to surgery. Right. So I get the CT scan, and it's like, I wait forever, like hours and hours and hours and hours. And then like finally like the specialist comes, and they're like, well, it looks like the majority of the fluid ended up leaving your body. It's like substantially less, and there's like a very minimal amount left in there, which will probably like naturally work its way out of your body. So we're going to recommend you do not go to surgery, which was like miracle to my ears.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. That's like 40 minutes of medical stuff for you guys, but to kind of go backwards and then work forwards again to tell you where we were at with everything. It got to the point where that first full weekend you were there, we start to have the discussion with everyone, and I say, hey, look, let's just plan as though you're going to be in the hospital, which thankfully we did go that route because we've got this show coming up, and let's just start to go over everything, and then we went through there. It was Dom, myself, and Matt Wadsworth kind of had a sidebar, and we were discussing it, and we're all working with Pedro as well. So it was the onus kind of throws on us, but still keeping you in the loop. Thankfully, you weren't entirely out of it the entire time.
Yeah, so, like I got like there was those days where I got better before that tube got kinked up. So like I was still able to book the show, and I was still able to like coordinate the hotels and like the flights and everything. Like I was like totally like coherent for like most of the time.
Yeah, flights were
except for the day of the show, honestly, because that's when I come out of like that like tube kinking that just like puts me out of commission.
Yeah,
but like up until like the few days before, like I thought I was going home because I felt so much better.
We're sitting there thinking, worst case scenario, you're getting out Friday morning before the show, and
that's what
you
I
come
thought.
And you'll be a spectator. But don't worry, like you'll be fine. But at least you'll get to be there. You'll get to watch and kind of hang out with everybody.
to like not going to that show, fucking like that combined with like the kinking of the tube, like those two things like nearly killed me. I was like so depressed because I've never missed an AIW show before. Like it bummed me out so bad.
And I want to bring this back kind of full circle because we are a wrestling podcast, and I know we've had a lot of medical talk here, but a lot of people were worried, so we updated them on you. There were so many people reaching out to you, and even day of the show, so I picked up the Godfather from the airport, and one of the things I thought from talking to him was like, man, I wish we would have had this conversation sooner, because it turns out his sister, he has an older sister, she went through a similar experience 4 years ago or so, did have to have the surgery, and then tells me she's been doing great since. But yeah, she was miserable. Then they had to cut her open, crack her, basically open her chest open, get all this stuff out of her from surrounding her lungs, and then she was good to go. Then I can relay this information to you. It's like, all right, had we known that, probably would have been a little bit better.
Shout out to the Godfather too, because like, you know, I told him what was going on, but I told him everything was good to go, and he like checked up on me like numerous times. Like texted me Saturday morning, like thanking me and like saying like how professional everything was and like hoping I get better soon. Like, never met the fucking guy in my life, but like, you know, great dude.
Yeah. Super great guy. We'll get, I mean, we'll talk more on that for that episode, but I mean, he wasn't, is it safe to say that, you know, the support that you were getting, because this is how small of a community wrestling is. You never met that guy. He's reaching out to you. And other people are reaching out to you as well. I think the PCO shot you a message. I think
PCO shot me a message, you know, like just, you know, all sorts of people, like, you know, like from all over the wrestling spectrum, you know what I mean? Like Chris Hero and like Kevin Steen and like all these guys that have like way more important things to do.
Yeah.
You know, like tons of guys, you know, obviously like from AIW and like independent guys, and like a part of it made me feel good. And like a part of it like was really like depressing at the same time, you know, because like it's like the thing that was most depressing is like there's literally nothing I could do to get better. Like I just had to sit there with my arm out with fucking IVs in it, and just like hope that it worked. As well as, you know, then this tube connected to a wall. Like I just had to like sit there and like hope that it worked. Like there was nothing that I could do to like physically make myself get better, which was very frustrating.
Now, to your point and credit that you've said many times, we have, I guess over the better part of the last year, when we've really kind of taken things from Chandler and we've kind of taken over everything, have turned this into a machine so that we can plug people into different roles. And, you know, we've delegated a lot more things. And then we had to do a little bit more the week of the show. So I don't know that you were necessarily worried about that as much, but did you start worrying about it in general?
I wasn't worried about the show. I wasn't worried about the show at all, because like it is like the show's run itself at this point. You know what I mean? Like, like all the work, like most of the work goes into the show before the show. Like once you get to the show, it's pretty like it runs pretty smoothly for the most part. It's just like, you know, whether you gotta like move some things around if people are running late or whatever, but for the most part, like, you know, all the work is done like weeks leading into the show. So I wasn't worried about the show at all. I just was disappointed that I wasn't there. Like, but I had no fear that like anything bad was going to happen, because like just the way we do things is so simple at the show that it's like it's almost like idiot proof. It's foolproof. Like it will run itself. Like, and there's plenty of guys that know what needs to get done, and they're just going to make sure that it goes that way.
Are you sitting in the hospital thinking about what your future is with AIW while all this is going on, though, at any point?
The only thing that I thought about was I definitely like removed myself from any wrestling plans in the future, which were definitely in the cards coming out of the gauntlet. That's the only thing that like I really changed, because like I was just like, you know, like before, you know, you think you're like invincible or whatever, and then, you know, spending, you know, 12 or 13 days or whatever it was in the hospital, like that made me think like, you know what, like I'm not gonna do like anything that's going to even like remotely risk me having to come back to this place. So like, I instantly like removed myself from like all those like plans going forward. Just because like it was just like one of those like, you know, like wake up call moments or whatever.
And I know the rest of us field a lot of messages, texts, whatever the case may be, from fans and other wrestlers alike. And so, you know, we did pass those along. Thank you to all of you for checking in on John throughout that entire time. So now as we sit here today, you had a checkup appointment.
I did. And I actually had like a panic attack being back in like a hospital setting. Like, that's never happened to me before. Like I just went, it was just like a regular like follow-up appointment to like just listen to my lungs or whatever. And like, I had like a full on like fucking panic attack. Like I started sweating like uncontrollably. I got like nauseous and lightheaded. Yeah. I got like these ringing in my ears, and like it only lasted like a minute or two, but like it was like one of those like holy shit, like I feel like it was like the fight or flight or whatever from your body.
Right.
And like I was terrified of being back in a hospital setting based on like what I experienced like you know the entire time when I was hospitalized. So like I was so scared that this doctor was going to come in and be like, you got to go back.
Thankfully that was not the case.
No.
You know, we are sitting in your place now where you live.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't. I mean, I still have like you know, several more like follow-ups based on the severity of the pneumonia. Like I have to go, you know, again like next week, and then I have to go like 3 weeks after that. And they still have me on like fucking like a bunch of antibiotics and stuff, but so far so good, thankfully.
So as we wind this down, I think, let's get to the heart of the matter and things. While you were in the hospital, we had a conversation. You said no more drinking coming out of this.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to drink for quite some time.
So if you plan on bringing John Thorne bottles of Tito's,
they're gonna collect some dust for a while until I feel like.
Should people still bring them, or will you request something else? Is there something else that they could bring in place?
I don't know what to bring me, but probably no Tito's for a while.
Okay.
Just because based on like potentially like the drinking could have been what lowered my immune system.
Yeah.
On top of the no sleep. I mean, they haven't pinpointed it. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna like probably take a couple steps back for a little bit. You know, like I might skip out on some of those funhouse after parties.
Well, you can go. You just can't fully partake.
I probably can't go.
You know,
and not
maybe
partake.
just wave, shake some hands. All right. Heart of the matter. Who was your least favorite hospital visitor?
I mean, I don't know. Like I appreciate everyone that came to visit me. Like I didn't let too many people know where I was though.
Yeah. How about the but Dave the Potato? Were you worried when he was going to come visit you? But then he got really sad, so you're okay with it?
I don't mind Dave the Potato. Everyone else hates Dave the Potato. I don't mind Dave the Potato. He was very sad though. Like
yeah,
like tears.
I bet. I mean, he was. Look, we've all been through a lot here for the last.
And that like I literally like I probably looked like I was on my deathbed because I was like coming out of like that Kink's Tube night. So like I was like in bad shape, like oxygen fucking mask on and like everything. So like I can only imagine what people thought when they came. Most random hospital visitor, definitely Nick Gage.
He came Friday.
Yeah.
Along with just about everybody else.
Yeah, Nick Gage, I would say I didn't expect Nick Gage to roll through the fucking hospital.
Usually he's going to a hospital to the emergency room, but judging by the scars on that man, I feel like typically he doesn't go there.
He was wrestling with pneumonia, he told me. I said, you're insane.
Did that make you feel like less of a man?
No, because they said that I had the 10% in the world's worst pneumonia.
Okay, you got to wear that badge of honor.
On top of the fluid on my lung.
Yeah. All right, final question, heart of the matter. How much are your hospital bills?
I don't know yet. I have insurance, but I'm very scared about that. Because, like, I feel that since I never use it, I pick, like, the most expensive possible deductible ever to take the least amount of money out of my paycheck.
I think you definitely, you know,
racked
went
it,
beyond.
dude,
You went beyond your deductible.
Oh, I racked.
Guaranteed.
But see, like some stuff I think they cover, some stuff they don't cover. Like right off the rip, I've spent $320 just on the emergency rooms. So I don't know what it's gonna be, because I had so many tests and so many CT scans and so many X-rays and like fucking, I'm sure those fucking pills they were giving me were expensive. And
the vacuum didn't look like much, but who knows? That's probably expensive.
I'm sure that chest tube operation was a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I've never been hospitalized before, so I don't know how that works. I've really never gone to the hospital before. So like I don't know how that works. Like, do they just like send me a bill?
Yeah, you'll be getting a bill.
I mean, I don't know.
You'll be getting a bill.
I don't have anything yet.
So we don't know how much it is, folks. But I'm sure we could probably use your help. So
yeah, buy some tickets. Also,
buy things from Smart Mark Video.
Also, the city of Cleveland hit AIW up. They want us to start charging 8% sales tax. So I got to deal with that too. Like that was a big thing coming out of the hospital. That was an email I discovered today when I was fucking catching up on things.
We'll be working on how we figured that into prices. We may just eat that cost. We may have to split it. So please, no complaints. But we'll figure it out for you guys. And
it's big time when the city hits you up. Like
yeah,
that's no fucking joke. That was, man. Did you want to talk about? That was almost my second panic attack of the day.
Yeah, you looked at that just a few minutes before I got here. So
yeah.
Well, long story short, you were pretty sick. You are back. You're
I feel
on your way
okay.
to health.
I feel okay. They say it could take a few weeks to get back to normal. I feel okay now. I'm gonna try to like go back to like my job and stuff.
Yeah.
And see about readjusting to like normal life. But yeah, I thought I was gonna die, man. No joke.
Well, I'm obviously glad you didn't. I'm happy to be sitting here and we can have the dumb conversations again. And I know everybody else is happy that you're all right. Mr. Whiskers, super happy that you're back home.
Oh, Mr. Whiskers has not left my side since I've returned home. Today was the first day I even went outside since I got out of the hospital. That's all like
it's a nice day for it too.
What is it called? Like when you're just like terrified of like sickness now, like hypochondriac. Is that what it's called?
You always think something's wrong with you.
Yeah, that's what I feel like now. Like first I've gone outside since being released from the hospital was today. Like, what about Bob style? Like, terrified. I'm like terrified of like the world now. Like, it's yeah, I don't know, man. It's a scary thing.
Well, folks, start buying those JLit tickets so that we can help John cover the cost of bills. Buy stuff from Smart Mark Video.
Yeah, and pay off the fucking taxes too. No,
you got to pay off these taxes. Any other way? I'm trying to think that people can.
No,
throw things. That's it. Do those things, folks.
Just do those things.
And we will be having a hotel announcement coming for you guys for JLit weekend. So stay tuned on that.
Yeah, I was just working out those details, making sure it stays open this year.
That's right. that was enough of a teaser. You might know who it is. For John Thorne, it's been a while. My name is Steve Guy. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, I guess. I know it's very medical. It's a long update, but we always try to operate with, pulling back the curtain and
I don't want anybody to operate.
Full deal. Yes. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks.